Hello YouTube, this is going to be an important video regarding the bike content on this channel. Now, the vast majority of my videos as of late have all been on the Mazda 3, and I know I haven't given any attention to the bikes, and I'm sure some of you are probably wondering what the heck's going on, so that's what this video is about. When I first started this channel 3 years ago, I was a busy college student working a part-time job for a considerable amount of hours. So throughout the week, all I really did was just work. I didn't really have time to focus on my channel and really make videos. Although I did make it happen here and there. I was able to piece my videos together, my footage together mostly during school breaks and holidays and things like that. And that's really when I was able to make my videos and then upload them. And while that explains the slow and inconsistent production of my content on this channel, it doesn't explain why the bikes specifically have been absent on this channel. The reason for that is simply because whenever I did have time to make content, all of my attention just had to turn to the Mazda 3. Mostly because that was the content that I was just making at the time. Whether it was from modifying the car or to making repairs or to autocrossing, rallycrossing, or to road trips such as the one I took to the Tail of the Dragon. That was the content that I was making, and that was the content that I had to work with at the time. And so whenever I just got free time, all my attention just had to turn to the Mazda. So what became of the bikes was just purely a personal thing over time. So it was a way to get away from content creation, just taking a break from whenever I was off the computer. It was also a way for me to get away from school and from work and to kind of get out in nature, get myself moving. So at that time, it became a thing to where I just didn't worry about making content for the bikes. That being said, whenever I tried to make content for the bikes, it just became difficult. So while there was a lack of time to a degree, there also was just a lack of ability to really produce good content on the bikes. Whenever I made content for the bikes, the only focus really at the time was to get action footage of the Axum riding on trails. And that was all I was really trying to work on, because this bike, as you see in front of me, is complete. It's done. It never breaks. So for me to make content on it, there was really nothing to really make. And the same could be said of the Axum up until very recently, and I will get into that in a minute. But 6 months ago, I uploaded a video that was the first action footage of the Axum. It was a raw POV of me in the woods trying to ride a more natural trail. And something that you will note in that video is that it's very shaky and the camera starts to move downwards quite a bit. Reason being for that is because my camera mount was mounted directly on the handlebars. It was a hard mount directly to the handlebars, and I figured this would work and this would be the best thing to do. I was wrong. I tried to make it work over and over again, and I eventually learned that it's just not going to work. That video is the cleanest, smoothest footage that I have of raw action footage from the Axum over the past 3 years. Any other action footage that I took of the Axum over the past 3 years has been really shaky, really blurry, or it just vibrates all over the place, and it's just a really bad watch. So whenever I got back and I watched the raw footage, on my computer, I looked at it and I was like, there's no reason for me to upload this, especially because I'm a beginner writer. I take everything slower, and it just became it wasn't necessarily just a boring video, but it was just all over the place. It was so shaky. It was impossible to really watch. And it's just when you look at it, you're just there's no reason for me to put this video together and show everybody this. It's just garbage. That camera mount, like I described, would have been mounted directly onto the handlebars. So on the Axum, it would have been like right here or right here. And what would happen is, as I would ride it, all the vibration being transmitted from the front wheel would just go back up through the handlebars onto the camera. And I think it was just shaking the living crap out of the sensor. So therefore, what I ended up with was really shaky, really crappy footage. And like I said, after many attempts of trying to make it work, up to that point, it just became demoralizing to just try and make action footage for the Axum. So I just went back to just focusing on the Mazda 3. However, it's been a year and a half since I made that decision, and some things have changed. First, I work a remote job now, so I have more free time to myself, and I've graduated college. I got my business degree about 3 or 4 years ago. So now I'm able to focus on really making content for the bikes again. But as of right now, as of the recording of this video, I have run into a couple of problems. The first problem is if you live around the Wake County area in North Carolina, around like the Raleigh area, you'll know about the closure of the mountain bike trails at Lake Crabtree. Now, those trails are my local trails. And while they're not closing all those trails, I'm losing access to half of those. So the amount of trails that I'm able to ride locally within my neighborhood have been cut in half, is what I'm trying to say. To help you understand the situation, here is a map of the Lake Crabtree County Park. This is obviously an old map. This is from, I think, 2023 or 24. It's 2025 now. And as you can see, there's a whole network of mountain bike trails. I want to say, okay, so if we look at the legend here, there's an outer loop, there's interior trails, connectors, whatever. And you can see there was a jump course. I've actually taken that on the Axum. I've taken the pump track on the Axum as well. I don't have any footage of that, but I have actually done those, and I was hoping to get footage of that, but unfortunately, all of this right here is permanently closed. So I've lost everything except for the lake trail. Now, so have many others in the local area, and when this trail system did close, there was a large gathering of people who came to the park and were protesting against the closure, but ultimately it came to the decision of the landowners, which actually isn't the government. That's a very complicated political situation that I'm not going to get into in this video, but to clarify, all the trails that I was really planning on making content on, which is like a short bike ride away from where I live, all this is gone. Another section of trails that are getting closed are the Umstead State Park natural trails. Those trails are the only trails I've ever ridden the Axum on where I actually have footage. That was that one video that I did upload. That video was on those trails. Those trails are gone. The land was bought up by another company and they're going to use it for their purposes. And so you can no longer go to that part of the land. All those trails are blocked off and you can't go in there. There's construction vehicles that have come in and just plowed through all that, all those trees, and they've flattened out that area of land, and they're going to open some sort of operational office there, I think. I'm not sure, but I also lost those trails, which were very local to me and many others. Despite this, however, me and others around the area are still going to have access to local mountain bike trails. There's a set of trails that's further away from me that's fairly local, but I do have to travel by car, that I can take. I have yet to really explore those trails, so that's going to be a future video. As soon as I get the Axum fixed, I'll get into that in a minute. I do also have access to a couple of local natural multi-use trails that I can ride on, but they are really rough and they have very steep grades, and I just personally don't really feel comfortable riding on those trails. And the Lake Crabtree County Park has a new lane development dedicated to mountain bike trails, but as of right now, there's only 2 trails there, and they're a little bit underdeveloped. But as I said, they are working on those trails and they are working on adding new trails as well. So on that front, not all hope is lost, but I do have to get to the second problem, and that is regarding the Axum specifically. All right, so here is the Axum on my new work stand that I've actually put together since kind of revamping the garage. And as you can see, it's not really in a good state to ride. If we look right here, there's a key piece missing to this puzzle right here. And part of that is this. This is the rear derailleur for the Axum, and as you can see, it's completely off. There's the jockey wheels are just not there, chains off. What ended up happening was I went on the trail like I described. I took a bump, and for whatever reason, the derailleur snapped itself back, and when it did that, it basically tangled up the chain, I guess, in itself. It was weird. I think I have pictures or video of it, showing the kind of aftermath of it. But it whipped itself back, and it jammed the chain up into itself and basically just blew itself to pieces. So those jockey wheels are somewhere on the trail. I don't know where. I couldn't find them. So right now I have an Axum that is unrideable. Granted, it's not the worst thing that's happened because, to be honest with you, when I got my bottom bracket replaced, the technician that happened to be working on my bike, because I did not replace this myself, I don't really have the expertise or the tools to replace this myself, so I took it somewhere. I took it to a bike shop. The person who actually replaced my bottom bracket ended up telling me that I will need a new chain at some point and very possibly a new cassette. So with that in mind, I now have the opportunity to replace the entire drivetrain, which is something that I have actually talked about doing on the Axum. So that's exactly what's going to happen. Apart from the chainring and the cranks and the bottom bracket, the Axum is getting a whole new drivetrain. It's getting a new rear derailleur. It's getting a new cassette. It's getting a new chain. And I also bought pedals for it. The problem with the Axum's pedals are that the pegs on them have worn down, and so therefore the pedals have actually gotten pretty slippery. So here are the new pedals that I'm going to be fitting to the Axum. These are the infamous Fukers from Amazon, the Crank Brothers Stamp 1 ripoffs that everyone raves about. I'm going to be putting them on the Axum just so that I have some extra grip from my feet so that when I ride, they're not sliding around, because that's a problem that I've started to recently have on this bike. And once I get some miles on those pedals, I'll make a video on my thoughts on those pedals and kind of let you guys know if they're worth it or not. Along with the pedals, the Axum is getting a full Shimano drivetrain. So we've got a Shimano cassette. It is an 8-speed, 11 to 40 tooth, exactly what the Axum has stock, except it's a Shimano component. We also getting a Shimano shift lever, a Shimano chain, which is going to pair with this Shimano derailleur that I have laying around. This is a derailleur that I took off of another mountain bike that I once had, and I know for a fact that once I have it cleaned up, it's going to work great on the Axum. All these parts together are going to transform the Axum and going to turn into content on this channel. What I'm trying to say is, despite the bikes being absent from the channel, they are coming back in a big way. I am working on a new action camera solution to try and get you guys some great action footage, and I'm really excited for the future. Thank you all for watching the videos on this channel and keeping up with it over the years. If you guys are excited for the future like I am, make sure to subscribe. Once again, thank you for watching.